Okay, so this will be our third video for exam 3 review, and this one is mostly standard costing variances, but I think there's one flexible budget problem in this group. And we've seen a couple of these in class for part of your quiz, so these will look, a couple of these will look familiar. So we've got Dillard Inc. has developed the following standard cost data for 60,000 direct labor hours, 120,000 units, which is 75% of the firm's capacity. Fixed overhead is estimated at 360,000 and variable overhead is estimated at $180,000 at this activity. And as you can see, we have our standards here. So direct materials, 3 pounds at $2, direct labor, half an hour at $8 an hour, variable overhead at half an hour. So we're allocating based on direct labor because it's half hour, $3 an hour, fixed overhead, half an hour based on 6 hours. So the standard cost per unit is $14.50. During the last period, company spent 48,000 direct labor hours to produce 128,000 units and incurred the following manufacturing costs. And we see direct materials, direct labor, fixed overhead, variable overhead. And so we want to determine all variances for direct materials, direct labor, and factory overhead. So we start, we're going to start with materials. And we do the actual. And the actual direct materials was 779,000 pounds. We use, this is the flexible based on inputs, and we used direct material 380,000 times our standard cost for material of $2 a pound. So that would be $760,000. And then we do the flexible based on outputs over here. And so we produced 128,000 units. And it times 3 pounds of material times $2 a pound. And so 128, 3 times 2 times is 768,000. Okay, so here, this is our usage, materials usage variance, and that is 8,000 favorable. Here is our price, materials price variance, and that is going to be 19,000 unfavorable. And our total variance is 11,000, total materials variance. This is the flexible budget variance, right? Is 11,000 unfavorable there. Okay, so next up comes the direct labor. Same exact setup. The direct labor incurred was $507,150. We actually used 63,000 hours at a rate of $8 an hour is our standard rate. So that would be 504,000, and then our output based on outputs 128,000 times 0.5, a half times 8, and so we get you get 512. So here, this is our labor efficiency. Variance would be 8,000. Favorable. That's interesting. Same there. And here, this is our labor rate variance. And that is 3,150 unfavorable. So our total labor variance is 4,850 favorable. Okay. Next up comes the variable overhead. Okay, so the actual variable overhead is 220,000. Again, it's based on our direct labor hours of 63,000 times our rate. Variable overhead is $3 an hour. Is $189,000. And then the standard is going to be 128,000 units times a half times 3. And that gives us 211,200. So this is our efficiency variance, variable overhead efficiency variance, will be 22,200 favorable. And this is going to be right, 31,000 unfavorable, and the total variable overhead is going to be 8,800 unfavorable. But finally we get to the fixed overhead. And remember, we have that extra column, so I'm going to squeeze this one just down in here just a little bit. Right? And our fixed overhead came in at 365,000. The variable, the budget was 360,000. So this is the spending variance. By the way, this is also variable overhead spending variance. This is fixed overhead spending variance. 5,000 unfavorable. Now remember, these two are the same, so there is never a variance here. And then we need the application, which is 128,000 times 5 times a rate of 6. That would be 384,000. And so this is our production volume variance, and that will be 24,000 favorable for a total fixed overhead variance of 19,000 favorable. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 17 here, we've got the Erie Company. They use machine hours, so this is a little different to apply overhead. It has the following operating data. And so we want the variable overhead spending variance. So the variable overhead spending variance, we take the actual which was 322,500, and then we do our flexible based on inputs. So we use the actual machine hours, 98,000, times the standard, is going to be, so this is the standard is 315,000 divided by 90,000 hours is $3.50. So we get 343,000. Okay. So this is our A. This is the variable overhead spending variance, and it is 20,500 favorable. Then we ask for the variable overhead efficiency variance. So we take the units manufactured, 3,100, divided by the total machine hours. So we need the machine hours per unit. So 3,000 units or 90,000 hours divided by 3,000 units gives us 30 hours. Okay, so 30 hours per unit times the $3.50. Oops. Here we go. 3,100 units times 30 hours times 3.5 is going to be 325, 500, and 343. And so here we get, this is B. The efficiency variance is going to be 17,500, and that is unfavorable. Okay. Then C is the fixed overhead spending variance. So we take the actual fixed overhead, 104,000, and we take the budget amount is 90,000. And that comes out to 14,000 unfavorable. That's a C, the spending variance. And finally, the production volume variance is going to be the 90,000 here times the, or compared to the 3,100 times 30. And that would be $1 an hour. 90 total machine hours, 90,000. Total fixed overhead is 90,000. So 31,000 3,100 times 9,300 times 1, 9,300. And so this would be 300 favorable. Okay, so obviously a big one. But there is your answer on that one. Okay, so the next page, we've got the following material standards have been established for a particular product. Quantity per unit of output is 6.3 feet. Standard price is $13.60. Actual materials purchased were 1,000. Actual cost of materials was 13,300. Actual materials used in production and actual output. So this is one where they're asking us where the materials price variance is calculated at the time of purchase. So we're going to have the 1,000 feet, and we don't know what it was, but it comes to 13,300 is the actual cost. Here we do the standard times the standard cost of 1360. And that's 13,600. So we have a 300 favorable price variance. And that's at time of purchase. Get these in good. Okay, and then it asks us for the materials quantity variance. So now we're going to use the actual quantities used in production. So this is 400. So these are our two flexible budget based on input times 1360 there. $5,440. And then our standard would be 60 units here times 6.3 feet up here times 1360. And if we multiply that out, we get 5,140.80 cents. And so we get $2.99.20, and that is unfavorable. Okay. That's that one. This one, calculate the material variances. Okay. So we've got Frogtown, the standard units here. Material 2 pounds at $5 a pound, labor 4 hours at $8 an hour, and overhead 4 hours at $12 an hour, of which 3 is variable. So now we can split this, right? So the budget capacity of the plant is 50,000 labor hours per month. Materials are not inventoried but used immediately. And so the units produced was 11,000. Materials purchased and used is 21,500 at 108. So that's our actual. And here we've got 21,500 times the standard of 5. Would be 107,500. So that is 500 unfavorable. About to put favorable, but it's unfavorable. And then we produced 11,000 units times a standard of 2 pounds at $5 a pound. So that's 110,000. And so that is 3,500 favorable. The overall is 3,000 favorable for that. Then we calculate the labor variances. So the actual labor was 356,000. We used 45,000 hours times the standard of $8 per hour. Gives us 360,000. So this is 4,000 favorable. The standard would be 11,000 times 4 times 8 is 352,000. And so this is 8,000. This is the efficiency variance. Unfavorable, and the total labor variance is 4,000 unfavorable. Then we calculate the overhead. Okay, so we'll do the variable first. We're told right here the variable is 172. And overhead is based on direct labor hours, so that would be the total hours used was the 45,000 hours times a rate of $3 for variable is 135. And so that's going to be 37,000 unfavorable. Over here we have the standard of 11,000 times 4 times 3 is 132,000. And so that's 3,000 unfavorable for a total of 40,000 unfavorable. Finally, we can do the fixed overhead. So we've got 578 minus the 172 variable gives us 406. The budgeted budgeted overhead would be, okay, budgeted capacity is 50,000 labor hours. So that would be 50,000 times 9, the $12 per hour minus the 3. So 50,000 times 3 times 9 would be 450,000. So we've got 44,000 favorable spending variance. That's 11,000 times 4 times 9. $396,000 was applied. So here we have 54,000 under applied or unfavorable. All right, so our total is 10,000. This is the production volume variance, so 10,000 unfavorable. With that. Okay. Okay, I think this is one of your quiz problems. Controller Yang Zhao is analyzing direct materials and direct labor variances for 2005. So we want to do the direct materials and direct labor and variable overhead and materials price variances at the time of purchase. So materials purchased was 3,000 pounds at 12,300. 3,000 times a standard of $4 a pound. So that would be 12,000. So we have 300 unfavorable here. The actual material used was 1,600 pounds times 4 would be 6,400. And the standard direct material, 500 units times 3 pounds times $4 a pound. And so we end up with 500, 6,000. So we are 400 unfavorable here for a total of 700 unfavorable. That is the direct materials. The direct labor cost was 7,790. We use 950 hours times a standard cost of $8 an hour. Is 7,600. So here we have 190 unfavorable. The standard should be 500 times 2 times 8 is 500. 16 times is 8,000. So here we have 400 favorable, 210 favorable total. And then we have the variable overhead. Variable overhead cost incurred was $46.55. Variable overhead is based on the hours, so we use 950 times a rate of 5. Whoops. That would be 47.50. So here we have 95 favorable. Our standard would be 500 times 2 times 5. 500 times 2 is 5,000. Here we have 250 favorable or 345 favorable in total. All right. Okay, on this one, they are asking you for a flexible budget performance. They use customer served as their measure of activity. During December, the company budgeted for $29,000, but actually 29,000 customers, but actually served 27,000 customers. The company bases its budgets on the following information. Revenue should be $440 per customer served. Wages and salaries should be $330,000 a month, so that's a fixed cost. Plus $1.80, that's a variable cost per customer served. Supplies should be 60 cents per customer served. Insurance should be $8,900 a month, and miscellaneous should be $4,600 a month plus $10 customer served. The company reported the following actual results for December. Compare the company's flexible budget performance for December. Label each variance as favorable or unfavorable. So what we have to do is we go through here and we just list these. And so we've got revenue, 117,600, wages and salaries, 83,500. This is obviously the actual. Supplies, 17,400. Insurance, 9,100. And miscellaneous, 9,800. Now you can see that we can't, these ones that are listed as both mixed costs, both a fixed and a variable cost, we don't have the information to separate those into fixed and variable, so we have to compare them as a total. So our flex budget based on 2,700 is going to be $4.40. $27,000. That would help. So we have 118,800 there, and I'm going to list all of them, and then we'll go through it. Wage and salary should be $1.80 a month plus 33,300, and so that should be 81,900. The supplies should be $60 per customer served, 60 cents per customer served. Insurance should be $8,900 a month. Miscellaneous expenses should be $4,600 plus 10 cents per month per customer. Sorry. And 7,300. So now we calculate the variances. This is 1,000. 200, and this is revenue. So this is our actual revenue, and this is our budgeted revenue, flexible budget revenue. So that is unfavorable. We came in under. And the rest we come in over, and so those are going to be unfavorable. So that will be 1,600 unfavorable, 1,200 unfavorable, 200 unfavorable, and 2,500 unfavorable on that. The next one here, we've got variable and fixed overhead variances to compute. We use machine hours to apply overheads and has the following operating data for its October operation. Okay, so the variable overhead spending variance, the 260,000 was the actual incurred. It is they use machine hours, and so actual machine hours was 98,000 times. We need the standard, so total machine hours is 100,000. Total variable overhead is 250,000, so that'll be $2.50. So that's 245,000. So we have 15,000. Unfavorable. This is the spending. Then we want the efficiency variance, and that's going to be the standard units is 2,500. The actual units manufactured is 2,250, but we have to figure the standard. So the total machine hours is 100,000, and so it's 40 machine hours per unit. And then we figured our standard at $2.50. Is 225,000. And so the efficiency variance is 20,000 unfavorable. So that's not looking good. Then we need the fixed overhead spending variance. So the actual fixed overhead incurred was 64,000. We used 98,000 hours, and the fixed overhead is $50,000 divided by that is 0.5 would be 49,000. 50,000 divided by the total machine hours of 100,000 is half a machine. It is 50 cents per machine hour for the variable overhead. So 49,000. So the spending variance is 15,000 unfavorable. And then finally we need, sorry, we had the budgeted. I did that one wrong. So we just look at the 50,000 here, and so it's 14,000 unfavorable. Okay. Then we look at 50,000 here, and now I need the applied, which is going to be 2,250 units times 40 times 50. That's where I needed the 0.5 there. That's 45,000. And that's 5,000. Under a block. That's your production volume. All right. Last one of these. Yeah, this is the same one as number one. So we've already done that. So that is our review video 3. So good luck.